everyone, this is Kyle from Teacher's Teacher, and in this video we are looking at the basics of using Google Sheets. So let's go ahead and get started. Now we're in the Google Drive right now, and there's a couple ways that you can open up Sheets. You can go to New and then click Google Sheets, and that'll create a new sheet with wherever you are in the Google Drive. But I'm going to show you a new way to do this, and this is actually a way that you can create any other Google document. So if you are logged into the browser, just open up a new tab and you can actually type in sheet.new and hit enter. And then this will actually open up a new Google Sheet for you, a blank one that you can work with. And again, that works with Google Docs and Slides and Sheets and really any Google application that you can do that way if you're just looking for a quick way to open it up. So this is what Google Sheets looks like. And this is an extremely powerful tool that you can do a whole bunch of different things with. I actually use this for a lot of different things that I will explain kind of throughout this process. And it's a really good way to kind of organize yourself, to crunch numbers if you need to analyze and look at a bunch of different data. So let's go ahead and get started just talking about this program at a very basic level. Now you'll see that this is extremely different than any other Google application that we've seen so far, and we actually have a bunch of different boxes here, and these different boxes are called cells. So we have a bunch of different columns and then a bunch of different rows that are labeled as numbers, and the columns you'll see at the top are letters, and then those can kind of triangulate us. So this cell example is the D5 cell. So we know if we put something in here, it's in that specific spot. Now there's a few things we can do with cells. Now let's say that I want to make a table. So what I can do is I can actually click on a cell and I can start to type in some information. And maybe I'm making a table for a document that I'm working on, maybe for students. So maybe I want to have them a spot for them to put their name, and I want to have another spot for them to put their class period, and then another spot to put the date. Now you'll notice that I spaced them out, and what you can do with these cells is you can actually merge them together. So all you need to do is highlight more than one cell. So you see that I just kind of clicked and I held it and I dragged over, and then there's this function up here called merge cell. So you can click that, and then you'll see that those boxes are actually now together, which is great. So we can merge those if we want to have some more space within them as well. Now what I can do is I can also merge them this way if I want to make that entire text box bigger, or the box bigger, and I can actually continue to move, and I can merge this whole thing if I want to. So now maybe within this I want to have a description of a task, etc. So I'm just kind of making my table here. Now you'll see that some of these settings are maybe not the best for my table. You'll see once I clicked off this, the text just dropped down to the bottom. It's a pretty easy fix. We have a lot of options of how we can orient the text within a box itself. So all I need to do is click on this big box that I created. Then I'm going to go up here for vertical alignment, and I actually want it to be aligned at the top. So I go ahead and click on that. And if I actually want it in the middle, I can use my horizontal alignment, kind of like you would see in Google Docs and Google Slides, and you can set it to the middle if that's what you're looking for as well. Now the weird thing about Google Sheets is that if you're typing anything into here, normally we're used to in a Google Doc, you type something out and then you hit enter to space down, but hitting enter actually doesn't space down for you at all. So you actually have to use a different version. So if you want to space down within text, you have to hit Control Alt and then enter at the same time. So Control Alt enter, enter, enter as I'm holding Control Alt, and this allows me to type a space down, down in the cell. So that's a pretty common thing that people ask for. Now, if you click a cell, you'll notice that whatever is in this specific cell is also located at the top right here. So this kind of tells you and orients you to the function of what is actually found in the cell. And this gets important when we start messing around with numbers and putting numbers in here. But right now we just have our text box. Now let's say that we want to add some color to this. So we can always go over here and we can add a background color to these cells if we want to. So we can just click a bunch of different colors here to make it look, well, this is looking pretty colorful, but that's okay. Now we can also edit the border size. So if I want to put a border around this, I'm actually going to click and drag and highlight this entire thing, or all the cells that I just colored, and I go to this box right here for borders. Now I can go through all these different options, but if I want to have or if I want to change the border color, I can do that. But if I want to change the thickness of the line, let's say I want this to be pretty thick, and I want it to fill in every border, which is this top left option, I go ahead and click on that, and then you see I have nice thick borders around the table. Now this is just one table, and this table that I have is actually located in this first sheet. So I know this whole program is called Google Sheets, but within one Google Sheet document, which is what I have here, you can actually have multiple sub-sheets that you can have different information set in. So I have this text box in this sheet right here, and maybe I want to name this text box. So all I did was double click that. So this is my text box sheet. But if I want to add another sheet to this, kind of another blank slate within the same document, all I need to do is go over here and hit this plus sign that says add sheet. I click on that, and now you'll see that a completely new one opened up, but I still have my text box over here that I already created. So for this one, let's say I want to rename this. I double click, and I want to use this one for numbers. Now, when using Google Sheets, it's really great for crunching numbers and a whole bunch of different data. So let's go ahead and add some numbers in here. Now, what you can do with Google Sheets is you can really type in some numbers, and it kind of just works normally. But what you can also do is you can use different equations for a bunch of different things that are extremely helpful. So I'm actually going to use an equation here for a number generator because I want to generate some numbers for exams. So let's say that this is exam 1 that my students took, exam 2, exam 3, and exam 4. Now, normally, my students would have actually taken this exam and I would actually have numbers to input into this system, but this is just to kind of show you how this program works, and I don't actually have any numbers that I'm working with, so I'm just going to make them up. And instead of me going and typing through and just making up a bunch of random numbers and going box by box or cell by cell, I'm going to use an equation to do this. So to use an equation, all you need to do is click a box, hit the equal sign, and then you'll notice that a cursor will pop up. And then all you need to do is start to type what kind of function you're looking for. Now I'm looking for a random number generator. So I'm going to start to type the word random. And then it gives me all these different options of things that I can do. Some of them are random, some of them are ranking, etc. But I want to make a random number in between two integers. So I want this to be, so I click on that. It says random between. It has an open parenthesis. I'm going to pick what my lowest integer is and what my highest integer is. Now, if this is an exam score, let's just assume that this exam is out of 100 points. So I'm going to go randomly from, and let's say the lowest score anybody got is a 1 because they get 1 point for just writing their name. So I'm going to put a 1 in there, add a comma, and then my highest score I want to be 100. So I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to close the parenthesis, which is shift 0. And then you'll see that it shows the bracket there for me, and then I'm going to hit enter. So now I have a random number generated right here as 40. So I can do the same thing, equals rand, and I want random between 1, 100, close it, enter. So what that actually did was that made both numbers random in both text boxes. Now what I don't want to do is I don't want to sit here and just continue to type in that equation every single time because I'm trying to save time here, so that's kind of pointless. So what I can do is I can click, and you'll notice if I click on this, you'll see that the number here, what is in this box, actually isn't 74. What's in this box is this equation, equals random between 1 and 100. Now I can hit copy, and I can go down to the next box, and I can hit paste. And really what that will do is that'll paste this specific equation in that box below. So I can paste, I can paste, I can paste, and you see that it's just generating random numbers every time. Now even that is not super efficient, so I want a faster way to do that. Now the awesome thing is that when you click a box like this, you'll see that there's a smaller box located at the bottom right hand corner of that cell. And now this is kind of like a click and drag copy feature, and it copies the equation of whatever's in that box dragged to wherever you take it. So I can click this and I can drag it all the way down, and I just release it, and then it copies it over for me. Now I can do the same thing. If I highlight this whole row, I can click and I can literally just drag it over, let it go, and now I have a whole bunch of random numbers generated here for me, and I'm good to go. Now let's say that this is student number 1, student number 2, and every time I hit enter, it randomly generates the numbers for me. Now, the awesome thing about this as well is that it can tell information that you're typing into each cell, and you can use that click and drag feature. So you'll notice, so if I hit Control Z, I was typing in student 1, student 2, student 3, and the program itself kind of knows where I'm going. So all I need to do is click and drag and release that, and then I'm good to go here. So now I have some random students, I have some random test scores. So what can I do with this? I want to figure out the average for each student based on how they did with these 4 exams. Super easy. I could just sit here and calculate it with my calculator on my phone or my just nifty old school calculator that I have, or all I need to do is calculate the average, and I'm going to do that with an equation. Now, actually, before I do that though, I don't want these numbers to keep changing because that's kind of getting a little crazy. So I'm just going to actually cut this entire thing. So I'm going to hit Control X, and then I'm actually going to paste it, but I'm going to paste the values only without the equation. So this is a cool paste feature. So I'm going to do that, and now you'll notice when I click this box, it's not the equation anymore. I just pasted the value itself. So now I can keep hitting enter, and nothing will change. So I'm going to calculate an average. To do that, in a very similar way, I hit the equal sign, and then it's actually suggesting that I calculate the average of these 4 numbers that I have in the cells to the left, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. So this is a very smart program that's guessing my next move. But let's say that I didn't have that there. I hit equals, I start typing an average, and then I can see I want to calculate actually just want the normal average of a data set, ignoring any text. So I click on that, and then now I have to set my my range of numbers here. So really all I need to do, well, I have 4 numbers for student number 1 that I want to calculate the average for. So all I need to do is click the first box, and I'm just going to drag over, and I want to calculate the average of these 4 numbers, and I close the parenthesis. So you'll notice it says I'm going to calculate the average of cell B3, which is right here, B and 3, all the way over to E3 and everything in between. So I hit enter, and then there's my average, 42.25%. Now I could do the same thing, or I can just click and drag my life away, and there you have it. Here are my averages for every student. And I can make this stand out a little bit more, so I'll just change the color just so it's a bit easier to see, and then I have some awesome averages there. So we can make text boxes within this program, we can crunch data in a bunch of different ways, but we can also take this data and we can actually graph it. So if I have my set of averages here, and I actually just highlight this entire data set, I can turn this into a graph that'll probably be a bit easier to read. And all I need to do is go over here and say insert chart while having this highlighted. So I'm going to click insert chart. A chart is going to pop up here for me, and then I have so many options over here for setting this up and customizing this. So first of all, I don't want a line chart. This is not the type of data for that. I'm actually looking for a histogram. So I'm going to go down and other. So this is my histogram chart. So I click on that, and this gives me a good distribution of about how many students scored within these different percentages. So this gives me, a good set of class data to look at that I, otherwise would not have had before. So all I need to do is I can kind of push this over to the side here, and then I can close this editor, and then now you have it. You have your class averages, and then you have a nice graph to look at to inform your teaching, to inform your students, to inform parents, to inform your administrators, whoever you're trying to inform, yourself. This is right there for you, so it's pretty great. Now, the last thing I want to show you pretty quickly is a feature that I use all the time. I'm going to add another sheet here, and I'm going to put this as checkboxes. So I am a person who just makes lists beyond belief, and I love to check things off when they're done. So what I actually do is I make my lists, my very long to-do list within a Google spreadsheet, and I use the checkbox feature to organize everything. So let's say that I have a bunch of different tasks, So task 1, task 2, task 3, and then I have some other thing to triangulate this with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, let's say. So let's say I have 10 things to do for task number 1, or however that makes sense. So I can add some checkboxes here. So all I need to do is highlight all of these cells. I go to insert and I drop down all the way to checkbox, and you'll see that it inserts little tiny boxes inside of each cell. So as I get these things done and as I click them, I check them off. So I'm like, okay, I know that the first thing for task number 1 is done. I got that done. Task number 3, first thing is done. And I can keep coming back to this sheet and I can keep looking to see what I have completed already and what I still need to do. So it's just a nice way to do that. And let me actually show you what I mean really quick. So I told you I was crazy, and here's an example of my actual checklist that I have for a bunch of different things, because I teach in like a very systematic way, or at least I try to. So I kind of make the same types of activities just with different content, and I have all these checkboxes to help me through. And this uses a lot of the things that I just talked about today: adding text, adding checkboxes, adding in colors, adding in different borders, just to make things very clear so I know exactly what I need to do and also what I have already accomplished. So it just keeps me organized. So that's all I have for this video for the basics of Google Sheets. I'll see you for the next video where we dive into even more information to help you master this awesome tool.